Good morning. I hope everybody is up and ready for game code lesson 1.5. This will be the last lesson in the 1 category. So next lesson will be 2.1. I just got back from a trip from Florida, so I am excited to be back home and to be making another lesson. Today's lesson is the color spectrum, and in the book, The Undercover AI Project. Hopefully you have it and you read it. In the second book, TV Snowstorm, in chapter, I think we're on 3 now. It's cleverly called Building Pictures in Windows. RK finds that some of his pixel creating is sort of cartoonish, and he begins to think, well, how am I gonna do this? Make this more real. So I will start on page 142, right at the end here. After weeks of creating, RK became a little puzzled. In his mind, he could easily see himself creating a virtual world, but after 3 weeks of intense work, he looks to find more of cartoon beginnings. The buildings were flat, two-dimensional, the people look like stick figures, and the trees look like big green blotches. Maybe I do not have the colors to create a real-looking virtual world. RK places his head down and begins to think. RK picks up his head and his computer instructions. What if I did something totally different than the instructions say? What if I placed 2 blocks or an alphabet letter in the same space, thus changing the colors available? Now this entire game thing is sort of fake. I mean, even the codes I have here are, I did these through a Word document. So I mean, this is not, the old version of the computer. I'm just kind of inventing this for a sort of a computer theory, or even a coding theory. But in the book, in the 3rd book, is how to build the computers, and there's layers of this glass that can be made. Each game completed in ways makes a layer of the glass. I don't know if anybody has seen the Mario 64 iceberg, but there's quite a bit more stars in there than meets the eye. So likewise with the game building of the sea glass, there's once you beat one, you may have like a white and black screen, and then if you complete another course, you may have another color. So this layering of kind of colors and window panes is kind of mixing with that idea that there are different color glasses in the computer. So here OK begins to think. I'll press the play button here. He's trying to figure out how to mix the colors to see if he can come up with more colors. He presses in the square button here to make squares, and he kind of goes ahead and tries to make mix a green and a white one, but it doesn't work out. Now if he did have push squares here, this bottom line would be squares. There's a way to do this so that way all the codes, you can see them and then press enter, and they'll mix together, so that way you're not typing in squares. He tries another one here. He places a blue block in the left hand corner. And see how all these blocks are here? He could technically run plus SB enter in those blocks, but if he mixed these two together with a slant and then run another code and then press enter, he would see what he was typing. So here again he does the S thing, and then he's gonna try to he's gonna make it blue. Then he turns it blue. I mean, he could have done this in one line, but he doesn't. Right in this section. So here he just turned a square to blue. So here's the blue square. He figures maybe he can put an alphabet character, in the square. So, you know, he tones his alphabet characters back on with the A. You know, he could have put this in this one line again, but this is, he tones the alphabet characters yellow. Now he's typing in yellow. You know, as far as, you know, saving a file in that color yellow, you know, it occurred to me as I was making this lesson that it might screw up the order of things. It's pretty much a guess, but here he tries something different. He's you know, he's gonna make the entire line. He might not have had to put run here. There's so many ways he could have done this, but he just does a run. He does a square. He runs again to the blue. He puts one of those in there, and then he loads, you know, a G, which is gonna be the square, and then he runs his alphabet characters. This is so that way he's not typing in the white blocks. It's pretty much, you know, blind-like in ways, so it could work both ways. Kind of, it's pretty much like typing in a mirror in a sense. So here's the full code all up there, and once he presses enter, I mean, this is what he's got, an ability to type yellow, and if he presses the backspace, he can put a yellow in the blue, which is kind of maybe, you know, if these are very small, he could make, you know, a sort of a green in a sense. I don't know if it totally came out like green, but I'm sure if they were small enough and they were all over the screen, it could add in a bit of realism to the art that he was creating. You know, colors and blocks, you know, words and stuff, and the layers in the sea glass. Here he takes his blue block he made. So this is pretty much now a new code, and he's gonna save it here. You know, this is where he saves in the yellow. I'm not so sure that would work. It might work, but it might mess up the order of things within the computer. But he saves it B1. I mean, that's pretty much now he's got, you know, like if he went to run an S, plus S, or a plus SB, you know, it's the same thing here. Now he's got his own color in here. And, you know, if he wants to move it around on the screen, you know, he'll just use the arrow keys. He'll run the arrow keys with B1 and be able to place that anywhere on his screen. Now this is, you know, this was done. What I did with this B1, I took a screenshot, and then, you know, I couldn't move the two together in a Word document, so I took a screenshot of the block and then just moved it, so that way we would have sort of the effects. And that's pretty much, you know, he tries a couple more afterwards, you know, like an orange. That's yellow and red, so that could make an orange. And there's not just the M that somebody could put in there, there's also the A and the comma and the period. I mean, he goes off and begins to make the entire, you know, shade of blue here. He went from B1 to B30. You know, once he completed that, he moved on to another color, you know, and he went on, and you know, at some point, you know, he took, you know, in big bold letters, he with the blocks he wrote, you know, OK's rainbow spectrum, and there was a way for him to move around the computer, so that way he could find the color that he wanted. And you know, as far as words, you know, just a note on that is words in color. You know, I'm sure there's a certain type of radiation, you know, that could, you know, it could be good and it could be bad, but I'm sure it does some realism. You know, if we do just the black and the white, I mean, it might have that kind of, you know, effect that, you know, might not be as much of a reality that we live in as if we mixed colors. And, you know, I mean, say you wrote a book, you know, up here. I mean, you might get a visual of a book, but maybe if you wrote that book in green with a blue background, you know, you might get a different type of feeling when you looked at it. And if they're small enough, that radiation, tiny bits of radiation might be picked up, and that, you know, in theory, you know, OK only got so far with this, but in theory it would make, you know, a much more detailed world. I mean, if you read the story, once he gets to the end, he's pretty much, you know, he didn't technically finish his universe, but he, you know, he figured out quite a bit, and you know, most of what he was typing up was pretty much straight from the life he was living. It was sort of like, you know, his life flashed before his eyes in a computer code. So it's scary, just like the radiation thing. It's a scary story, but it's also a story where, you know, you can think that's very possible. It's very possible for the world we see around us. It's very possible for the TVs and the video games. You know, it just would take that amount of caution and energy to, you know, double check and check and check again to make sure, you know, everything was gonna be cool as you're going. So that will be the end of the lesson. Thank you for joining me today. Have a wonderful rest of the day.